Buy dirt, find one you can't live without.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Buying Dirt, brought to you by the folks at McDaniel Gray Realty here in Brookhaven, Mississippi. I want to apologize to you. Bruce is out this week. We've had a little severe weather, some of you may have heard about. I don't know. It didn't hit us too bad. Randy and I were just talking about what happened here, that thin line of demarcation of where it was freezing and where it wasn't. And I panicked for a little while Sunday, but we came through unhurt, and thank goodness. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people up in North Mississippi, especially in the Oxford area and others, that are in dire consequences, and that's where Bruce is this week. He had planned on being here, but he found a route going through Starkville. I know that hurt his feelings to get to Oxford, but he was going to go up there and pick up his three daughters that had been stranded up there, because I think they're not going to be starting back up till about February the 8th at Ole Miss. So listen, our thoughts and our prayers go out to everyone that's been in these conditions. And I want to thank our linesmen that are out there. They're putting themselves in harm's way. Yeah, they get paid for it, but you know what? That's some hard work. I mean, there have been trees that have fallen on trucks out there. They've got to face those slippery roads just like all the rest of us. But I do want to send out all of our thanks and prayers to all of you out there, and hope everybody gets through this safely. We do have another bout of cold weather coming up. Hopefully things are going to improve greatly and everybody gets situated and get some electricity before that rolls in here. But if not, hunker down and endeavor to persevere. Also want to mention, we have recently, you've heard us talk about our new name. We used to be known as Realtree Land Pro Fridays, and changed our music. Just tried to go a little different route. We had over the years, over the Realtree days, people ask us when they'd be on the radio or want to know if they could go somewhere and find the radio production of it where they could re-listen to it. And unfortunately, that wasn't available, but now that is. This radio broadcast and all the ones here of Buying Dirt are going to be put out in podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcast out, you'll be able to pick up Buying Dirt. Just go in there and Google that, and you can pull it up and listen to it whenever your heart desires. All right. I'm probably going to step on a few toes today. We're coming in, this Saturday will be the last day of this hunting season, of rifle season for deer. And if you're like me, there are people out there that have probably missed a deer or two, made a shot. But if you've missed anything, sometimes people want to blame that gun. Is it always the gun? No, it's not. I have, over my lifetime, I used to reload years ago, back before I moved to Brookhaven. And I consider myself an excellent shot. I used to reload shells. I knew what they would do. I could shoot a group at 100 out to 200 yards that you could cover up with a nickel. I can't shoot like that anymore. I haven't reloaded in years. I don't practice like I used to. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This time of year, people are starting to downgrade their rifle, say, you know, that gun's sorry. I just need to get me a new rifle. That's not your answer. You need practice. There are a lot of things you need to do to get ready for hunting season and get your rifle, but that gun that you've had for years, that you've been shooting, all you need to do is practice with it. You know, Mississippi has one of the longest rifle seasons in the country. We got about 2.5 months. You can start for the weekend before Thanksgiving and go all the way to January 31st. And unlike a lot of the people up in the north part of the country where they have a week or two where the Orange Army attacks, but it's people get their rifles out a lot of times at the beginning of the season, and they'll go out and take a shot or two, go out and find that pie plate, stick it up out there at 100 yards, and if you hit it, that's good enough. And there's nothing wrong with that. There have been a lot of people that's the way they sight their guns in every year, check them, make sure they're on, and those people probably kill more deer than I ever have. But coming from a reloading background, I just love to shoot and see the precision of what it can do. Shooting is not there's no rifle that shoots in a straight line. It's a game of angles. When you zero a rifle at 100 yards, you're probably aiming a little above that 100 yards. And that bullet's got to fall into place. The farther you go out, the farther you've got to shoot over above that target to make it fall into there. I just love the precision of it. I love being able to sit down and know what bullet's going to do. I used to go out and set a milk jug up at 200 yards. I had to make sure I had a good background. There's a pile of logs. I had set milk jugs up, and I turned my back to it and just turn and pick them off, one shot each, and see that milk jug explode. Don't think I could do that today. I mean, that involves free-handed shooting. But the best rifle that you can have to hunt with next year is the one you own this year. I mean, we all have mistakes, missed or unrecovered deer, and that kind of colors the way you look at different rifles or cartridges. But on the other side of that coin, we tend to build pedestals of successful hunts, immortalize. The truth is, shot placement plays a much larger role than you might think. I'm going to tell you, I've made some shots at animals and deer. One year I was hunting in a big field. I walked through the woods and came out and saw a buck step out. I knew it was about 300 paces to the back corner where that deer was. I propped up, shot, and he dropped right there. I had to look around, make sure there wasn't somebody else that shot at him. I couldn't believe I hit him. Had the same thing in Texas. I was riding on a side-by-side, headed back into camp, and one of the wild hogs out there, a little young one, came running across in front of me. I stopped, dropped, followed him, and shot, and he rolled right there. But I'm not going to go into all the misses that I've made. But just like anything else, just like a football player it gets out and practices every week intensely, you need to practice where you're shooting. You don't need to have a sub-minute of angle capabilities from your rifle, but you need to be able to consistently hit your mark in a variety of shooting positions. And that type of practice only comes from practice. And shooting drills, everyone, when you go to the range and you're setting that rifle, believe it or not, I've had people, I used to set scopes for them. I had a buddy of mine that bought him a new rifle, and he put him a new scope on it, came to work, and he was telling me, he said, man, I got my new rifle and my new scope. I said, okay. I said, have you zeroed the scope? He said, what you talking about? I said, you've got to zero. You put that scope on, it's not going to just automatic. Well, I thought they set them at the factory. No, it's a whole different process. I had him bring me some shells. I think he brought me 6 shells. And I was able to get his scope zeroed in six shots. But that's a lot of thought. A lot of people out there, I may be preaching to the choir out there about this. But there are a lot of people out there, especially new hunters, that don't know what's going on, maybe looking at buying their first rifle, don't know exactly what to do. But yeah, you can't just slap a scope on there and go hunt. you're not going to hit what you're shooting at. Can't just put that crosshairs on there till you do get it zeroed. Now, everybody looks good at the shooting range. When you got sandbags or got that lead sled set up. But unless you're taking shots from a shooting house or propped up, you need to practice shooting drills that emulate types of hunting positions and snares you might encounter in the woods. Most missed deer stories start with offhand shots. And that is by far the most difficult. I mean, your best shot you're going to take is propped up on something where you're not waving around too much. They're difficult, especially if you don't practice them. You might find yourself in a situation where you may have to take a quick shot with no rest. If you're not practiced, I'd advise against it. Otherwise, get some reps in at the range. Offhand shots should be no more than 100 yards, preferably closer, because even at that distance, they're difficult. Your deer may be running through the woods, and a lot of trees get in the way when you're trying to pick out a deer through the woods as he's running. I have done it, but I have missed more than I have dropped that way. But start at 25 yards, regardless of what kind of rifle or scope you've got, and work your way back to 100 yards. If you're uncomfortable with a high-powered rifle, start with a 22. Practice squeezing the trigger gently instead of snatching it. If you snatch it, you're going to snatch that crosshair off, and you're probably going to make a miss or a bad shot. If it's one thing we owe the wildlife that we hunt, God put them there for us, and we need to treasure them enough and take care of them enough to be good enough shot that we make a good, clean shot to make a good, clean kill. Focus on controlling your breathing, squeezing the trigger, and staying on target, even after the shot. After you get some good reps, you can graduate to a moving target. Now, a running shot at a deer, you don't have a lot of ranges where you can put a moving target up. There are some ranges that set up like that where you can hook a target to a line, it'll zip across in front of you. But I've never tried this. I've always wanted to. But one of the ways that people have done it, if they've got their own shooting range or area where they can do some shooting, is put a sheet of plywood inside of a tire and roll it down a hill. And as that's rolling down the hill, it's going to be bouncing and jumping. And if you can put some shots in that target that's on that sheet of plywood in the middle, you shouldn't have any trouble shooting at a deer. Not going to say you won't miss, but it'll be a lot less likely. Kneeling or prop shots. Now, today, there are some good, I think bog is one of the tripods that you can put up. A lot of people shooting from deer stands or shooting houses, and they'll just pop the gun up in that, and that's an automatic rest. Excellent way. But still, even though you've done this, you need to practice. Think about where you're going to shoot. Good shot placement, again, is the best sure way to drop that deer. Majority of shots you take in the field will probably be kneeling or propped up against a tree. I've had many of these. While these might come natural or feel more stable, you need to practice them at a range. I used to sit down when I was reloading. I'd lay down prone, prop up. I'd sit on the ground with my back to the target, stand with my back to the target, sit in a chair. Like I say, back in those days, I was confident in my shooting. Today, maybe not so much, but I still love to shoot. One of my favorite hobbies. You don't have to graduate from sniper school to be a good shot in the deer woods, but you need to practice. What is practice going to take? It's going to take a lot of shells. Now, ammo is not cheap by any means. I'll grant you that. But how much is that new rifle going to cost you? You can buy several boxes of shells and get in a lot of practice for a lot less than what you would spend on buying that new rifle. Get that old gun out. I mean, I myself, yeah, we all want new guns. And there's somebody going to say, who wrote this for you? Did your wife talk you into saying this? You might want to, if you're listening to this podcast, listen to radio, send your wife out of the room. Because I have nothing against buying new guns, but you don't need that new gun to have a good hunt next year. The one you've got, you can tune it in for what you want to do. I own about 12 or 13 guns, rifles, shotguns. Do I need a new one? No, because there's about 2 of them. One especially that I hunt with regularly, and I've got another one that I hunt with during primitive weapon season. A 45-70 is one of my favorite guns. Bruce's too, because he's been trying to buy it from me. But just think about it. Practice this year. You can do it this summer. If you got a place to shoot, there are ranges you can go to. Get that rifle out and practice from all positions. And I guarantee you'll see improvement in what you're doing next year. Practice with a .22. Even dry firing can help you perform better shots. But if you develop a structured shooting routine, you'll notice a major difference in the rifle season. Yeah, it'll cost you a little more in ammo, but it'll cut down on your misses, and you won't be spending all that money on that new rifle. It'll make the wife happy too. Hint, hint. Folks, remember now, tune into any of this in podcast. You can pull us up at Buying Dirt. And we enjoy being here with you. My heart goes out to everybody that still doesn't have power, but there's brave folks out there working to get it back to you today. So until next week, folks, stay warm, stay dry, and enjoy.